there are more curves on the XSR. So here we can see this entire region right here is one smooth curve. Yeah, but on the FZX we have a more angular approach. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Devashish Puranik and this is a new playlist which I'm starting called Design Analytics. So here I will be talking about the designs, purely the designs and the appearance of various vehicles like cars, bikes, scooters, anything which catches my fancy, anything which has controversy, anything which the media is covering a lot, which people are talking about. So I'm going to try and break down the design components and the appearance of such vehicles and basically give my verdict on them, why I think the company did what they did, what's the intention behind the design. So I'm gonna do that breakdown of appearance as far as possible to my extent, to the best extent I can. And obviously I do review bikes. I have another channel for that, which is Ignite Motorrad. I'll link it up here and down in the description, so check that out too. I review bikes, and obviously while reviewing the bikes I talk about the appearance quite a lot, but I have to do it within a certain time frame because obviously we have to have the video. It has to be a well-rounded video, has to come, a lot of aspects of the bike have to be covered, and the appearance is a very small part of it. I mean, riding a bike, the feel, the power, that is more important when it comes to ownership of a bike. If you want it as a daily driver, or if you want to ride on it, like I'm not talking about super rich people who buy expensive limited edition bikes and showcase them. That is an exception. So appearance is something which I want to stick to for now on this part in this playlist. So the first bike, or two bikes in fact, which I'll be covering here are the Yamaha XZX, which has recently been launched in India, and the Yamaha XSR155, which is the one we thought would be released in India, but we got the FZX instead. Very similar category of bikes, both of these. They're both scrambler styled, but they're not as similar as you think if you look at them closely. And now I'm going to try and break down the appearance of both of these bikes. So let's get started. Okay, so these are the bikes in question, the Yamaha FZX at the top and the Yamaha XSR at the bottom. Now you can see that these bikes clearly share their Yamaha scrambler DNA, 150cc scramblers, around 150cc anyways. So the engine blocks are different, as you can see. That's because even if they are broadly the similar capacity, they are two very different engines. Now the one at the top is sourced from the Yamaha FZ, which is around 12 to 13 horsepower. It's not a very great performer, but it's a good commuter. And the XSR 155cc engine is a much better bred power plant. It makes more power and more torque, and it is known to be a better engine. It's also a more expensive unit. So let's start off with the breakdown. At the front we can clearly see the differences in suspension. XSR gets upside down forks while the FZX gets conventional telescopic units, but here these gator covers kind of make the whole thing look more bulky to give it more macho look. So here the overall trend, as I see it, is that the XSR is trying to look as classy as possible with a minimalistic addition of extra design elements. It just wants to look clean and purposeful, and I think that's working, and we'll see what I mean by that further on. But the FZX is just trying to cram as many elements as possible onto the bike to make it more visually appealing, since the overall silhouette looks a tad generic for the Indian scenario. I mean, if you get what I mean. It just doesn't look as special as the XSR to my eyes. So moving further back, here again we can see this chrome element here, again a classic example of adding elements to for the visual appeal. XSR doesn't have anything of the sort here. You just stick with the regular frame portions, engine portions, and you can see the side of the belly here as well. I think bellies look really nice on bikes. The FZX has a belly here as well. I think we'll see that better in the front three-quarter view, which I'll pull up in a second. And again, that adds to the appeal. Color wise, I'm not going to talk too much about the color, because basically we can get the bike in pretty much any color you want. There are three stock colors for the FZX. There's black, orange and blue, I think, but if you really want the matte black, you can always wrap it or get it custom painted. So not going to talk about the paint too much. Again, the tank region, the design is pretty similar. I think the top curvature of both bikes resembles one another pretty nicely. I think the FZX has a little sharper rake to the curve than the XSR, but it's nothing, it's no big deal honestly. They both look pretty good. The creases on the tank, however, are pretty different. Now if you look at the XSR, which has more curves than the FZX, definitely we can see this portion here, it's a curve, whereas the one on the FZX is also a curve, but it's a slightly more edgy curve. So you have a bit of a vertex element over here, but it still looks good. Just analyzing it, nothing wrong with either of these, personal preference. Again, in this portion over here, we have the Yamaha logo for the FZX to add more panache, I guess. On the XSR, we don't have any such thing. It's a black panel, plain black, and I think that works just fine. The FZX design looks pretty good here as well. We have the inner portion here, which encompasses the Yamaha logo. And again, it looks good. It's got more elements. There's more stuff to look at on the FZX. They've, put some thought into it to try and make an affordable scrambler for the Indian market. And Yamaha said that they didn't bring the XSR because, according to their research, the FZX was much better suited. So I think for now, we'll just take their word for it. Now, this is the most important thing that I want to talk about at the side profile, at least, is the seat. Now, I'm going to start off with the XSR. Since the scrambler seat is not known to be very sporty like naked, there is not a very big level difference on the pillion seat and the main rider seat, and I think the XSR has done that well, but it's not so flat so as to mistake itself as a retro bike, that element at least. So there is a gentle curve up top here, as we can see right here, and that gentle curve sort of works in its favor. It raises the tail a little, increases the gap between the wheel and the seat unit, and I think it looks sporty while at the same time retaining its scrambler DNA, the scrambler looks. So I think that this gentle curve is just right, and it's not too drastic. Whereas if we move to the Indian counterpart here, the seat, I think it's a bit confused about what it wants to be. So honestly, you have the rider seat here, and then you have a dip here. I'm not so sure about this part. It could have been more subtle. I mean, if they had made it like the XSR, I think I would have liked it a lot more. So I think this looks a little more like a street bike than a scrambler, because I don't think this seat gels very well with the rest of the design of the FZX. But that is my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. And I just personally don't like the seat. If I were to hypothetically get one of these, I'm not going to, but I would probably change the seat, do something about it to make it look more, I'd add a more cushioning up front maybe, so that the layering would make it look more uniform throughout the length of the seat. And again, this has its repercussions here as well. So as I was talking, there are more curves on the XSR. So here we can see this entire region right here is one smooth curve. Yeah. But on the FZX, we have a more angular approach, which is fine, but I prefer the curved approach, to be honest. I think it looks more sleek, I think it looks more contemporary. But because they've tried to sort of mimic the geometric positioning of the seat in the gap between the wheel and the seat unit as well. Moving back again, we have a big eyesore here, which is the grab handle. Nothing wrong with grab handles, you need grab handles, but there is a better execution of it. You don't have to just plonk this kind of rung back behind the seat. You can put them on the sides maybe and sort of gel them with the rest of the bike. I'm not sure about this execution honestly, or they could have made it, I think side mounted would have worked, and maybe provision for a luggage rack or something. But visually, I think this looks pretty generic. Moving down to the XSR, doesn't actually have grab handles on this particular picture which I've pulled up, but if it was to come to India, it would probably have two things which aren't in the picture, which is a sari guard, which I think all of us hate, but it is a necessity for some people, and it's also a legal obligation, so you do have to sort of do that. And grab handles of some sort. Now if we zoom in here to the XSR, maybe if you put the grab handles here, something like that, I think that could be a pretty sick implementation. Now it's big. It's not going to be that big. Obviously, I just showed that for representational purposes. I'll just change the color of my pen. So yeah, green works. Cool. Yeah. So that is basically the side profile of both bikes. And again, talking about the tires, I think the XSRs look much more chunky than the FZX. and I think that plays in its favor. It looks more macho, it has more of that chunky DNA to it, which I really like. Headlight units broadly the same. Again, nothing much to differentiate here. There are minor differences, but nothing deal breaking, honestly. And the rear unit, I think the tail light of the XSR has more style potential. It's definitely more stylish than the FZX, which has a more generic setup. So I think let's move on to a different view now. The rear, as I was just talking about, tail light of the XSR, I like this single pod. Why is my pen black? Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, lights are nice. I mean, the LEDs on the FZX look pretty neat. But again, I think the XSR's circular layout is more to my taste. Although I do really like the tail light of the FZX. It is quite good, it's contemporary, and the tail design, it isn't too fussy. I think tail designs are pretty similar of both these bikes, even the indicator shapes, since they are from the same family and the same company. So I like the tail design. It's pretty good, so thumbs up for both the tail designs. I like the shape of the XSR's tail light more though. I'm not sure how that would look in the accompaniment of grab handles or whatever the rung like this, if they decide to place it, if it does ever come to India, which it's not, at least for the proximal future. So here, as we can see, there is a tire hugger on the FZX, which will also come to the XSR again if it was put into production in India. And block pattern tires on both, I think they look great. Good decision on Yamaha's part to get the block pattern tires for the FZX. I think they do wonders for the style. So far the FZX is doing quite well, better than most people think it is. I mean, this is not a bad looking bike. Even I thought it wasn't a very good looker, but now that I'm breaking down the appearance, there are a large amount of similarities between both bikes. There are also a large amount of differences. But I think I should review the FZX actually, which we are going to do on the main channel pretty soon, so I can see it in the flesh. Maybe I'll make another appearance vlog then, so because the pictures don't always tell all of the story. So yeah, again, exhaust muffler looks bigger here, and we have a sort of chrome finish on the end for the XSR. I'm not sure why there are like 3 parts. There's only like 2 or 3 chrome bits on the XSR, which they look slightly out of place for my liking. If you're gonna black the thing out, then why not black the whole bike out, right? At least the FZX does better in this area, because at least it has an almost equal blend of matte black understated surfaces and these chrome elements, including elements at the front as well as the back and even the midsection of the bike. So it's got a balance of that, and I think a small amount of chrome visually balances out a large amount of understated matte paint. So yeah, here we can also see a glimpse of the speedometers. Now, point to be noted here, the XSR does not come with the Bluetooth connectivity features like the FZX. So here we have the rectangular layout, whereas on the XSR we get a more round pattern. So yeah, even from this angle, they are slightly different angles. This seat and the grab rail, this entire portion here, oh my god, I am not super happy about this part, basically. But I mean, yeah, it is still a good looking bike and it can be fixed. It's a bike, it's customizable, it's modifiable. So yeah, now the final view I'll be covering now is these. Now, case in point, when I said that the XSR is trying to be more classy and minimalistic and the FZX is just adding more elements, classic case here. So just look at the graphics first of all. Hardly any graphics on the XSR, loads of graphics on the FZX. I mean, there's only 3 to 4 graphics here, including the Yamaha badge at the bottom, but it's still more than the XSR, which has a very subtle badging here in the middle. I don't know if you can see it. And actually in this spec, in the silver spec, the chrome elements, the small number of chrome elements, I think they look really good. But for the matte black, I think if they blacked out the whole thing, that would be pretty sick. Now the headlight unit is more advanced on the FZX. You get an LED projector unit, where on the XSR you get a halogen. But while the headlight has more functionality on the FZX, I think to look at visually, I would prefer the XSR's headlight. Again, because I'm not a fan of this whole fussy look when it comes to bikes. I mean, there's just a lot going on here. It's not for everybody's taste. It is for some people's taste. It's a good looking bike. I'm repeating this again. It is a good looking bike, but the XSR just looks more elegant to my eyes. And this FZX is just, it's trying to be youthful, it's doing a better job at that. The XSR155 looks like a more mature motorcycle as compared. So if you want to sort of compare this in terms of, I don't know, a bike family, then I guess the FZX is probably the XSR's baby brother. It's a little juvenile, it's youthful, it's trying to be funky. Look at these blue pinstripes right here. So it's trying to be funky, more elements. And oh yeah, here this gives me an opportunity to take a look at the bellies here. So yeah, the one on the XSR looks much more macho, it looks more built to do the job, and it looks more purposeful as well. So I'm not sure if this is a belly pan or, you know, proper guard for the bottom. So it does look much more purposeful on the XSR than it does on the FZX. Now mind you, I've pulled out 3 different images for these 3 views. So both the bikes in both these images, slightly different spec. I'm trying to cover as broad category as I can while generically talking about the design and not a particular spec. Like for instance, these two have like slightly tan seats, which I am a fan of, and the FZX is, I know I don't like the seat design, but it looks much more comfortable than the XSR. It looks kind of flat here. If you see the thickness of the seat, it's only that much, whereas the FZX looks quite more accommodating. It might be the angle, I'm not sure, but personally I sort of get now why people wanted the XSR. It's mainly because of that glorious 155cc engine, which we are not now getting in that Neo Cafe Racer / Scrambler format in India. We have to stick with the MT-15 and the R15. Yamaha is apparently working more on their FZ lineup. The FZX, the FZ25, the FZ and the FZS25. So they're trying to, you know, bring that lineup back to power. MT-15 and R15 seem to be taking slight of a backseat, though the R15 version 4 has been spotted recently. That should be pretty exciting. So that's it for this video, guys. I'll get better at these videos as I do more of them. So that is my verdict on the XSR and the FZX from the same family, but a lot of design differences, small things which you will notice eventually, gradually as you look at the bikes better and better. XSR is a much more mature motorcycle, while the FZX is trying to be more funky, sort of working. It's a more funky and youthful bike, more affordable as well. It's around, I think it's in between 1,35,000 and 1,40,000, somewhere in that price gap. And the XSR would obviously be more pricey. It would be just sub of 2 lakhs, I think around maybe 1,70,000 or 80,000. So there is around a 40,000 rupee gap between the two had the XSR come to India. But again, we can't say, this is all speculation since we're not getting the XSR. But for now, the FZX is a pretty good bike. I'll try to get my hands on it to test it as soon as possible. So yeah, that is the design of both these bikes. So yeah, catch you in the next vlog, and I'll be back with the KTM RC, the new KTM RC design. I'll be talking about that pretty soon. If you like the content, do consider subscribing to my channel. Let me know what you think of the content. If you disagree with my observations here, that's totally fine. This is my opinion, what I think of the bikes. And let me know what more you want to see, what more bike designs you want to see. And check out my vlogs as well. It's on the same channel. It's the same channel for these design breakdowns and my vlogs. So I do some pretty cool shit with my bike and, you know, talking with my mates regarding their bikes. So all those vlogs are in the channel. They're probably down here in the suggested videos or something. So check those out too, and leave me a like if you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, my Instagram ID is on the screen now. It's DEVYAA with underscores on both sides. Thanks for watching, guys.